Ladies and gentlemen, we are live for another edition of Jofo in the Ring. I am the harbinger of truth, Jeremy Prophet, and I am so glad to be joined by a special guest today, the one and only Rhett Titus, member of the Foundation, a guy who you're going to see in an awesome tag team match, challenging for the tag team titles of Ring of Honor tomorrow at the Ring of Honor 19th anniversary pay-per-view event. First hour, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m., absolutely free, so I encourage you all to check it out. And then 9 p.m., you can check it out on the Honor Club or on FITE TV. It is going to be one hell of a show. And I tell you, I think we got one hell of a show for you right now. So if you got questions, you got comments, I want to see that all up in the comments section. Let me know what you want to see, what you want to hear. We're here to do what we always do, and that's give the people what they want and what they deserve. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce someone that I go quite a ways back with, a fantastic talent, and someone who I'm sure is going to enlighten each and every one of you with his words of wisdom, the one and only Rhett Titus. Welcome to the show, Rhett. How you doing?
Hey. What's going on, guys?
Oh, I'm doing great over here. Yep.
It's a great day to be alive today, boys. Ain't that the truth?
Indeed. Yeah, even here on our end, we had some fantastic weather today. It's about time we get some good days around here and get this snow out of here so we can start enjoying the spring and then on to the summer. And hopefully all this pandemic nonsense will finally go away and we can get things back to where they should be. How you been holding up out there? You been all right?
I've been pretty good. You know, can't complain. You know, we had a beautiful day here. Tomorrow it's going to be 79 for the big day, for the big 19th anniversary show. So 79 degrees. Just a few weeks ago, it was snowing and just nightmare. But I've been doing my workouts outside for the whole pandemic. You know, I set up a little gym in my backyard. So through the rain, the shine, the snow, the heat, everything.
Yeah, it's what I've been saying to people is that, you know, when it comes to this pandemic, it's really just a roadblock. It's just an obstacle standing in our way. It's like when you're going home and you hit a detour on the road, you know, you got to find your way home anyways. So
I think we lost him for a second.
that's okay. I'll talk right through it. You know, we're on live.
Oh, okay. You're frozen there.
Yeah, no, he'll be back.
All right.
You know, this is what we do. We got to roll with the punches. Just like I'm saying about the pandemic, it's the same kind of thing where pretty much you run into a detour, things aren't going according to plan, but you still got to get to where you're going. You know, am I right, comment section? Am I right? You know, Amelie, Kezia, Steph M, all of you out there, A to the tracks. You know, I'm glad you guys are all here to hear me preach, but when it comes down to it, this is the truth. The truth is life goes on. So we got to get to where we need to go. When the going gets tough, the tough gets going. Am I right, my brother Rhett?
Oh, hell yeah. Sorry about that, guys. I got caught up in the car and all that nonsense. But now let's get focused here. Let's get focused. Move these rubber bands out of the way. All right. Now we're cooking. Now we are cooking.
Awesome.
Yeah, little mishap there, guys. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. This damn the studio that we're in, it always gives me problems. Every time I do podcasts in the studio, but I guess my phone just goes haywire with it. But happy to be here, man. I'm still like in my wrestling gear and all. So
yeah, you're a hardworking man. I mean, match today, you got a match tomorrow, an important match. And believe me, I mean, if you're not taking it seriously, which I can tell you're taking it pretty seriously, but we had your competition on here a few hours ago. We had Amy Rose on here, and she was talking a lot of trash about you and Tracy Williams, saying that you guys ain't got a snowball's chance in hell of being able to take them tag titles. What do you got to say to that?
Well, Amy Rose, she will talk a lot of trash. I mean, that's the thing that she does best, because she doesn't help LFI out of whatsoever. You know, if you've been tuned to Ring of Honor lately, you know, Amy Rose has been the catalyst to some of their problems. But I'm not really too focused on her. I'm focused on Kenny King and Bastia. And Kenny King, this is a guy I tag teamed with for 10 years. You know, I know him like the back of my hand. And I have a strategy to, you know, outwork him, out wrestle him, you know, and take him down and take him out. And Bastia, he's a wild card. He's a veteran of the ring. I was preparing for Dragon Lee, and then two days ago, all of a sudden, Dragon Lee's got some ear surgery or something, and now all of a sudden they're sending their veteran father in. I guess Dragon Lee is scared, and it's okay if you're scared. Just say you're scared. But they want to send this guy in, and Bastia, he's been wrestling over 25 years. It's not too often that I wrestle somebody that's been wrestling longer than me, but Bastia is, a veteran from Mexico, and the guy doesn't speak a lick of English, but he's one intimidating guy. So I haven't seen too much of his matches lately, but I've been watching him as much as I can in the past 2 days, so to try to prepare a strategy for him. And me and Hot Sauce Tracy Williams, we flow like water together. This will only be our third time teaming together, but the other 2 times, it felt like we had been teaming for years and years. That's the type of chemistry that it took me and Kenny King years to get, but I feel like me and Tracy Williams, we had that chemistry right off the bat. Because everyone's always talked about me like a tag team specialist or whatever, so I can always kind of interchange. But Tracy himself, he's had a bunch of different tag partners, even in Ring of Honor and on the Indies as well. So, he's a little bit of a tag team specialist himself.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because I'm reading between the lines there, and I know that maybe things are pretty heated right now between you and Kenny King. Clearly, you guys aren't the same kind of people you were back when you were teaming. But I can't help but get the impression, and maybe it's just the part of me that wants to stir the pot a little bit, but I feel like you're implying that, you were the guy doing all the heavy lifting for the tag team while he was coming along for the ride, getting some of the credit. Am I right?
I mean, if you go back and watch the tapes, watch the DVDs, watch all the matches, Rhett Titus, he's the guy putting in the work. You go listen to the Jim Cornette podcast, he'll talk about Rhett Titus in a highlighted fashion, but he doesn't have the same things to talk about Kenny King. Go back and watch some of those tag team matches. All our big victories that we've had. When we beat the Young Bucks or the Briscoes or Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly, and I was always the guy getting the 3 count, and Kenny was always the guy trying to take the credit for all my hard work. But, now we're on opposite sides, which is pretty strange. It's like kind of like if you used to date a girl or something, and that now she's dating a new guy, and then you guys are going to go out to dinner together, but like that dinner isn't going to go smoothly whatsoever.
That's an interesting analogy you have there. And another thing that I want to point out too, for those who don't know, if you're not aware of this, your partner, Tracy Williams, as well as Kenny King, are both going to be pulling double duty that night. So that could kind of be a blessing or a curse depending on where that match is positioned on the card. Do you have any insight as to, is the tag match going to be first, or is the television title match going to be happening first?
We don't really know, but I'll tell you what, Tracy Williams, he's a damn Iron Man. So I don't think, whether that guy has a match right after the other, if it's going to deter him from being so focused. It's his destiny to become television champion. Even though Dragon Lee isn't here, he'll have to take it off Kenny King. But Kenny King isn't a slouch. He's a former 2-time Ring of Honor television champion, and he's going to defend that title for Dragon Lee with all of his might. But when it comes down to it, I think Hot Sauce will, put Kenny in his patented crossface and tap him out. Just knowing both guys and being around both guys, you can see who digs deeper to down in the trenches when the going gets tough. And I can tell that Hot Sauce, he's got a little bit left more in his tank than Kenny does.
No, it's definitely an interesting take. And one of the things I find interesting about this is that I really think you guys have the opportunity to totally reshape the face of the company right now, because let's face it, LFI, they've been getting the job done. They got all the belts by hook or by crook. Got to give the devil their due. And they, like they say, where the belt goes, the power goes. So they're a pretty powerful faction right now. But if at the end of the night, you're a tag team champion and your partner is a tag team and television champion, now you've just shifted the balance back to the foundation. So I definitely think that you guys got a lot to gain here by making that happen.
Yeah, and let's not forget Jay Lethal, too, who's wrestling Roosh for the Ring of Honor World title. Jay Lethal will become the second man in history to win the title 3 times. The only guys who ever done that before is Adam Cole. But people will look back on the Ring of Honor 19th anniversary and they'll call it the gold sweep. Like the night that Foundation swept the LFI and took all the gold back, took all the power back, and restored honor, because that's our main goal. That's what we want to do. We want to bring the honor back to Ring of Honor, because LFI, they run around, they don't care about the rules. They don't care about tagging in and out. Go back to Final Battle. Watch Tracy Williams versus Wheeler Yuta and Fred Yehi in the Pure Rules tag match. The first one ever in Ring of Honor history. And that's kind of my plan when we win the tag team titles, is to, restore the honor in the tag team division and really break it down, where just like the Pure Rules tag match where, hand-to-hand tags, must be holding the tag rope, both feet on the apron, only one, 3 rope breaks and you get one breakup of the pin, So, rules like that, aren't meant to be broken. And LFI, they break every rule at every chance they get. But, we need rules and we need a code for people to follow. So we're just not running amok everywhere.
Which is what Ring of Honor was built on, was a code of honor, respect, and bringing back the actual sport aspect to professional wrestling.
Yeah, I'm a guy that I was in attendance at the very first Ring of Honor show, February 23rd, 2002. Changed my life forever. I always wanted to be a professional wrestler, but had I not been to that show that day, I probably wouldn't have actually followed through with it, because I wasn't planning on any big show. I saw Eddie Guerrero and Steve Corino were going to be there. They were, my 2 favorites. I was like, oh, I'll check this Ring of Honor out. And then before I knew it, I was like, oh my gosh, this isn't sports and entertainment. This is wrestling. This is a sport. Like, this is what I want to do. Like, this is where I want to be. And I was like hooked from that point on. And you did not break the code of honor. It was just a thing that you didn't do. And now these guys, they don't know, they come over from Mexico and they don't speak the greatest English, and they don't care. They don't care to learn our language. They don't care to learn our culture. They don't care to learn about the code of honor. They just run amok and do whatever the hell they want to do. And that stops at the 19th anniversary.
And now you came up through Ring of Honor system. You were trained at the Ring of Honor dojo, but not the dojo as they know it now. This was the original Ring of Honor dojo. In doing my research, I had seen that you were trained by Austin Aries and Bryan Danielson. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, I mean, could you ask for 2 better trainers,
Yeah, no, especially when it comes to wrestling.
Yeah, I was like, man, like Ring of Honor is the place that I want to be. This is the place where I want to wrestle. So I was like, you know what? I'll go straight to the source. They have a school. I'm going there. I was, me and Grizzly Redwood were the only guys in our class, and just the 2 of us, and it was a great time. And then learn from Aries. We pretty much learned like the basics and those sorts of things from Austin Aries. And then Bryan Danielson moved to the area and he took over as trainer. And that was a more advanced training, probably one that I wasn't ready for at the time. But, thinking back about some of the things that he taught me then, like, they come into my mind now, like, oh my gosh, like this is what he was trying to say back then. But I wish I would have been more experienced at the time, because it would have helped tremendously, because Bryan is just, he's on another level, and he expects that from each one of his students. But I learned a tremendous amount from both guys, and I wouldn't trade that for the world.
And one of the other questions that came through, which actually we see here, one asking about what the advice was that Bryan Danielson gave you back in the day, just to enlighten our audience. For those of you who don't know who Bryan Danielson is, that's Daniel Bryan in the WWE, still current superstar, and probably on his way to main eventing WrestleMania. Who knows? Yeah. We'll find out pretty soon, I guess. But what was that? Again, yeah. And so, definitely you're very fortunate to be someone who was trained and taught this business by someone who is so exceptional at what he does when that bell rings inside that ring. And it speaks to Ring of Honor, and the quality talent that they've produced year after year after year. Being in their system for so long, I mean, you must have crossed paths with tons of big names, tons of people in the wrestling business who are, pretty much legends at this point.
Man, if you go through my my cage match or whatever with my list of matches, you'll see guys like Tyler Black. You may know him now as Seth Rollins, and Kevin Steen, which you may know as Kevin Owens.
I don't know that guy.
Kevin Owens, and El Generico and Kenny Omega and man, like the list just goes on and on. Brody Lee, R.I.P. to Brody. Man, I sometimes I forget about all these people. Bushwhacker Luke. I got to wrestle an amazing array of different talents. Samoa Joe, Brian Danielson. I wrestled him on shows. I got to team with Austin Aries. Continuously. And also 6-man tag with him, and he managed me at one point. And and I got managed by Steve Corino, who's my favorite wrestler of all time, and Matt Hardy tag team with him. It's like, and I wrestled him too. The names just, they just keep going,
and it's amazing to me because
as I wrestle.
No, it's really amazing to me because, like I said, these are pretty much legends, and you've crossed paths with them, got to wrestle with them, against them, with them, be around them, get to pick their brains and gain knowledge of what we do here, and the whole time you've remained loyal to Ring of Honor, which I think that's a credit to you. Where does that stem from? Your loyalty to the company?
I mean, where it really comes down to is, like I said before, this was the place that I always wanted to be. And, a lot of people have dreams of, main event in WrestleMania or something like that. But my goal is always to, main event, final battle for Ring of Honor, or win the Ring of Honor World Championship, or win the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship. And once I finally did win the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship with Kenny King, who's the guy who's holding the title right now that I'm wrestling on Friday, 2 weeks later, he skedaddled to Impact Wrestling, and I was left there with a tag title and no partner and got stripped of the titles. And, all that work, that we put in, 6 years of work to get to the top of the mountain. And then just all of a sudden someone's like, nope. And you just, you comes crashing down. Everything that I was doing up to that point was always, my mindset was, what's the best thing for the All Night Express? What are we doing next? And then all of a sudden this all gets taken away from you and you got to start all over from scratch. And it was just like, misfortunate event after misfortunate event for Rhett Titus,
So speaking of that incident, especially because you guys are getting in the ring with each other, and I'm sure you clearly harbor some resentment there from that, but did you take a lot of heat from that for management? Did any of the blame, get carried over to you because this guy just up and left?
No, I wouldn't say so necessarily. It was just kind of like a thing they had to do. It was, what else are you going to do? Am I going to defend the belts on my own? How well would that work out for me against, some of the guys that we had on the roster? Then I'm going to go in there against Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin on my own, but, and, are they going to bring somebody new in and be like, here, you're a champion now, So, I get it, but it didn't stop me from not really counting that in my mind. I was like, man, I worked so hard to get this and now it's just gone and I gotta get it again. It was always a lot of the loyalty as well comes from unfinished business. It's been close to almost 9 years since we won those titles. So for 9 years, I've been just crawling and scratching and trying to get back to that top of the mountain. And it's just been it's been hell, but now all of a sudden I find myself amongst the foundation who are like-minded individuals. There's one thing to have the respect of your peers, but when your peers are guys like Jay Lethal and Jonathan Gresham and Tracy Williams, all of a sudden your confidence is through the roof. And I realized what happened to me was my confidence was just thrown down, stepped on, spit on, and kicked around, and I just wasn't able to get out of my head. But all of a sudden now I'm being pushed, to heights that I've never been pushed before by these guys that, are helping me get better and I'm helping them get better. And it's a great working relationship. And, all of a sudden I'm in this flow state where I'm just having the best matches of my life and I just can't be stopped. And when we roll into the 19th anniversary, there's no stopping this now, me and Sauce, we're definitely poised and we're ready to take those championships off of Kenny and Bastia.
Now, one of the things I got to ask you is that, like I said, we're looking at potentially Foundation having all the gold. Now, you've been a tag team champion in the past. You may very well become a tag team champion if you win the match tomorrow. But do you have bigger ambitions than that? Do you see yourself maybe one day as a singles champion? And it's a two-part question, because if you are looking at a singles title, it may end up that you might have to challenge a member of the Foundation for that. Now, I understand that you guys probably all respect each other, and, you know, just like in mixed martial arts, it happens that you end up fighting guys that are on your own team when you want the belt. You know, do your ambitions go that far, or are you happy just being a tag team guy?
Well, you know, the thing about it is, like, my focus is kind of like right now is strictly on the tag team titles and tag team wrestling in general, because I feel like if me and Tracy Williams, you know, get the tag titles and we're able to instill these pure rules, it can really bring tag team wrestling back to how it used to be, where, you know, you're not going to be seeing people tag each other on the back, or you're not going to have guys running in, running out, staying in the match for 5 minutes, the referee sitting there with his hands in his pockets, not knowing what to do. You know, that's like my first goal. But aside from that, I definitely have single championship ambitions as well. And, you know, currently right now I'm ranked number 3 in the pure division, which Jonathan Gresham, he holds the title in the pure division. He's the pure champion. I don't think if I were to ask John, hey man, I'm number 3, like, let's go, you know, I don't think he'd be offended or anything like that. And if Tracy was to win the TV title or Jay the world title, and, you know, I got myself in the rankings and in the mix from that, nobody would be offended. You know, it's one of those things where we're always trying to push ourselves to be better. And how can you get better if you're not wrestling the best? And I feel that the Foundation, we are the best in Ring of Honor. So if we're wrestling guys not as good as us, how are we going to get better? We got to push ourselves to new limits and new heights. So if we have to wrestle each other, so be it.
I'm gonna take a question right now, because I see a pretty good one there. Frank Jofo, who actually does this show with me on occasion, would like to know, what's your relationship with PCO in Ring of Honor? Him being from here in Montreal.
Now, Jeremy, I know you and PCO, you're not exactly buddy.
We don't see two eyes to one eye.
Yeah. No. PCO, he's an interesting cat, and I know you know that. And honestly, I try to keep my distance from PCO, because, you know, I see some of the stuff he does. I see these feats of strength and these wild experiments, or I don't even know.
That's a good way of putting it.
I don't know what to call them. But I try to keep my distance. You know, I haven't wrestled PCO yet, so it's one of those things where it's like, you know, I'm not gonna sit here and say that I'm scared of PCO, or I'm running from PCO, but he's not like on my list of guys like I want to get in there and you know, tear it up with PCO, because, you know, how do you wrestle a guy with a car battery for a heart? You know, like, he's I mean, I've seen the guy get electrocuted before and come back to life and whip some serious butt. You know, I've never been electrocuted before, so I'm not trying to see how that feels. PCO, my respect to you, my man, you know, but it's one of those things where, if, you know, we do win the tag titles, though, it's, you know, there's challengers coming from every which way. You know, PCO, he was teaming with Mark Briscoe a few months ago. You know, they may get together and try to come at us for the tag titles if we win them. So it's one of those things where you got to always stay on your toes. But I'm keeping my eye on them, but from far away.
Okay, that's a fair answer. You know, I tried to keep far away, then I tried to fight him head on. You know, even though I put 3-4 bullets in the chest to him there, execution style, still didn't manage to keep him down. But you know, thankfully I'm still here in one piece. You know, and I think that his path and mine will definitely cross again, whether in his web series or if I got to find out where he lives and maybe drag him into a dark alley and show him what kind of monster I can be.
Yeah, I seen his videos and I was like, damn, what the hell happened to Jeremy? he's off his rocker.
Sometimes you got to put business before pleasure, and sometimes business becomes pleasure. So I think what happened with PCO and I is I got a little too caught up in that, and I lost focus. That's how I describe it to the people out there in the Twitter universe. But I see another question here from a Daniel Sodden asking, who hung on to your coattails harder, Grizzly or Will? Great question.
Grizzly Redwood and Little Willie, Will Ferrara, two close friends of mine. It's, both of them are actually groomsmen in my wedding. And it's funny, there's actually a picture because I had coattails for my wedding. And I have a picture with each one of them on a coattail, like trying to hang on. But those are two guys I have much love for, and, Grizzly would always, travel with me and stuff and, pick up a booking here, pick up a booking there. And, hey, I got Grizzly with me. Okay, let's use him, so it's always good for that. And Will, it was funny because the day that Grizzly left Ring of Honor was like Will's first day at Ring of Honor. And it was like Grizzly's last day, Will's first day, and all just like, oh man, well, this little guy ain't gonna be around with me anymore. Hey, what's your name, Little Willie? You're my new buddy. And it just kind of turned into me ripping Little Willie all the time and just driving him nuts and realizing that he had a very easy button to be pushed. And then all of a sudden it just became a tank.
I think we just lost him there. The feed was kind of breaking up.
I think, yeah.
Hopefully he'll be back. But this does give me time to answer Amelie's question of why I'm not wearing my sunglasses. I'm not wearing my sunglasses because I don't always wear my sunglasses. I don't have, Kyle Jofo's big, egg-shaped bald head with the light glaring off it that I can't see what I'm doing here. I wear it for a therapeutic reason. Believe me, I'm happy and very proud with the way I look. I don't need to hide this kind of beauty behind sunglasses. But on occasion, yeah, I take them off, and maybe I could put them back on if you want, if you don't like seeing me like this. But I think I'm doing a pretty good job here. I used to always say I was young and good looking. Now I'm just good looking, so I don't need to hide behind no sunglasses. So
you want to? I think his phone probably died while he was talking. You want to show?
It could be.
Maybe.
Yeah, we could do that.
Well, while we're here, for everyone watching, now's your time. Get your questions in to Jeremy Prophet, the harbinger of truth. What do you want to know? Jeremy, who do you think in this upcoming card here, which one of these matches do you think that someone's going to have to watch out that you think PCO might get involved in?
The PCO would get involved in. I could easily see him getting involved in any of the matches involving LFI, La Facción Ingobernables, since they took the championship from him. So I could easily see him getting involved in any of those. But also in the Briscoes match, they had that little fun relationship going on there. So it's very possible that he gets involved in that. But you never know. He's unpredictable. I mean, I'm not his keeper. So yeah, he could be involved in any match. We're talking about PCO.
Oh, sorry about that, guys. I had a little technical difficulty here.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. I filled in the tree hole there on live TV, so no worries.
What a pro.
But so we were talking a bit about yourself and about the foundation, everything, all the good business you guys have been doing. And one of the earlier questions that we had there was people wanted to know how we know each other and how we go so far back. And I remember it was back in 2009, right at the end of 2009, in December, when we were both at the same tryout for WWE in Florida at before it was NXT, when it was FCW. And I mean, I remember you were the pretty girl at the prom at that tryout. You were the one that everyone was like, oh yeah, well, Rhett Titus is here. Rhett Titus is here, from Ring of Honor. I was just like, who's Rhett Titus? I wasn't watching Ring of Honor at the time. But from the moment I saw you, actually get in the ring and work, I could see, okay, you know what you're doing in there. Like, regardless of what company this guy works for, I can see the mechanics are there, the timing is there, the athleticism. This is someone to keep my eyes on. And that was the first time that I met you, and I don't think we got to talk too much. I don't even think that we really got to work together that much. I know we weren't in a match, but we might have, done a handful of drills together.
Yeah.
But I was trying to think back on it, and I'm like, I really don't think we were in that much.
I remember this much because, the tryout was, they were like, we're signing one person, we're signing one person. And I remember, the last night, I was like, all right, it's either going to be myself, it's going to be Dustin Starr, or it's going to be Jeremy Prophet. You know, I remember you did that sweet 450, and I was like, damn, like this guy's good. And then all of a sudden, it was Jinder Mahal, and I was like, oh, I wasn't really expecting that guy, you know.
It's funny to reminisce on this, and it's funny because Dustin Starr was actually in my top 5 also. There was you, there was myself. Jinder was in my top 5, but what people don't know is that he and we know each other. Like, I had already wrestled him before, and you might remember they paired us up in that last match. Like, I think you might have been paired up, I think, with Alex Silva.
Yeah.
In those
great memory,
man. So I'm told. No concussions. Somehow, 15 years, no concussions. So I guess that's why I remember everything. But thank you for the compliment. You were with Silva because Silva's from here. He's from Montreal. And, he and I were pretty close. And, like, you guys had that match. And Jinder and I had the match right after. I forget who was in the first group, but I want to say he was also my buddy, Rob Vegas. I think he's from out in Jersey. He was, I think, in the match before yours. I really don't remember who he wrestled. Someone who kind of maybe flew under the radar. And I really felt like, we, for the most part, it might have been Dustin Starr even, but we were like, the cream of the crop there, when they only had time for 3 matches, and they said to Pat Patterson was like, just put in the best guys. So it was no surprise to me you were there. It was no surprise Jinder was there. Alex was kind of a surprise to me, but Alex was also like a lot younger. He was like 18. I think he was the youngest one at the tryout. And speaking of which, it surprised me a lot in doing my research to find out that you're actually a year younger than me. I was totally shocked by that. I always felt I was younger than you.
No, yeah, I guess because I started, because I joined the ROH Academy at 17. So, and I was kind of just like there for 18, 19, but I think by the time I was 20, I started actually getting used as like a, in a real spot, instead of just doing pre-shows and dark matches and stuff.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people think, because of how long I've been wrestling that I'm actually, older, but
we have that in common because I started when I was 17 too. So I guess that means I would have maybe started like a year before you because you're a year younger than me. So yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, no, definitely, like, you killed it at the tryout. You were one of the only other ones that had like personality. As I talk about that tryout, and I'm like, I feel like it was just, every shade of vanilla under the sun. But then, you'd have the one odd guy, me or you or Dustin Starr, who could, actually catch people's attention. It wasn't just everyone going in doing the same promo of, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to beat up someone, and I'm going to be champion.
Yeah. I not to disparage Jinder Mahal or anything, but I wasn't in any of his like groups of stuff. So, but I found out afterwards that like, oh yeah, they were paying like a lot of attention to him, and oh yeah, is he second or third generation?
Second, yeah.
Second, yeah. And I was like, oh, all right, makes sense, and like it was funny because I ran into him like one WrestleMania weekend, and obviously he didn't look how he looks now back then. He was, he's got himself in some amazing shape. But I seen him on the WrestleMania weekend. He was like, "Yo!" and we're chatting it up, and he was like, "Dude, man, I thought you were getting signed." And I was like, "Man, me too."
He's a great guy like that, Jinder. And like, I tell the story all the time of when I went to do TVs for WWE, but like I went in 2010, so not long after we did that tryout. And then I went again in 2012, and he was still in NXT or in FCW when I went in 2010. And when I went in 2012, he was on the main roster, and like, I'm just walking down the halls of the arena after they had us do like our little physical and whatever, and someone just yells out my name, like yells at like my real name, first name and last name. And I'm just like, who would know my name here? And I turn around, and it's Jinder, and he comes up to me and he gives me a hug, and he's like presenting me to all the guys, and he's like, here's the reason I got signed. This guy was in there with me. We did the last match at the tryout. They loved it. He's pretty much the reason I'm here. And I think it just speaks to how nice of a guy he is, that he remembers where he came from. And to your point about, they had an eye on him. it was his cousin. So there, you might remember there was another Indian fellow there who was also named Raj. That was his legitimate cousin. He also wrestled for Impact Wrestling for a while too. I forget what his name was there, but he wrestled for Impact. And he had said to me, he's like, remember that moment where he did his promo and he actually kind of like flubbed his promo, and Dusty Rhodes came out to like give him some advice. And Dusty said, like, when you're, I remember it like it was yesterday. He's like, when you're doing one of them Taliban gimmicks like that, you don't gotta worry about the kind of stuff you say. Just speak your language. Just and so he said that to him. And his cousin says to me, he's like, from the moment that happened, I'm like, they're signing him. They already have the idea in mind. Dusty loves him. It's over for all of us.
Yeah, well, it was so cool though to get to work on promos with Dusty, that day, that was a cool experience, so, but definitely learned a lot there. That's where I met Dr. Tom for the first time. And, it's funny. I saw him years later. I did another camp with him years later, and he was like, hey, come over here. He's like, listen, I remember you from that camp. I don't know why we didn't sign you back then. I don't know why you're not signed now, but I'm probably going to need your help a little bit at this camp to help some of these younger guys get through some of the matches and whatnot. I was like, yeah, no problem, but yeah, he was like, he like super remembered me. It was super cool, and
it surprises me because like I feel there was a big disconnect at the time between FCW and WWE, because I remember, like, after it was done, I got rave reviews from everyone. Steve Kern pulled me aside. He told me all kinds of good things. They sent me a review in the mail. I'm sure you got a review in the mail as well. Mine was, like, almost all positive. It was, like, I'd say 98% positive. They always have to add in the little, you could always bulk up, add a bit more muscle. There's always... I think everyone except for that one really, like, jacked guy from France, or you probably remember the guy. He was the one guy who was just clearly just jacked to the gills there. And
was that the guy that they turned the lights down for and had him do the promo?
No, that's my buddy from here, Darko.
Okay.
That was the tall, like, giant, and he had a mask.
Yeah.
He had already had some tryouts with WWE before that, and this was kind of supposed to be just a finishing school for him. This was kind of a, let's look and see how he learns, how his English is improving, just that kind of stuff. They actually paid for him to go there. They everything. I was riding in the car. They rented for him. I was staying in the hotel room with him. He got, like, they were putting out the Ritz for him. Wow. But the guy was a guy from France. I don't really remember his name. I don't remember his name, but he did like a promo. He called himself like the alpha male. It was really funny. He was in these like really badly fitting like shorts. They looked like underwear. And at one point, even like Norman came out to laugh because like the guy's junk was just so visible in those shorts. But the guy was like ripped beyond belief. So I'm sure he's probably the only one that they didn't say, hey, you need to bulk up and add some muscle. But that was like the only negative critique on mine. The rest was like, all positive. I thought the phone would be ringing any day. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. And then I went to TV and had it out with Laurinaitis, and he was just like, yeah, but why do you think you're so good if we don't know who you are? And I'm like, why don't you call FCW and ask them about me? And he's all like, fine, I will. And if you're lying to me, then I'm kicking you out and, never call us back. I'm like, why would I lie to you? like why? Like, you think I think you're not going to call my bluff? But I mean, all that to say, like, what was it like for you afterwards? Did you keep in touch with them, or?
I got that packet in the mail and whatnot, and I tried like getting in on maybe like some extra work or whatever, but it was so different back then. It wasn't as organized as it is today, and then. Because the talk of me, like, it was on PW Insider that I was there and all, and then Ring of Honor offered me a new contract. And I was like, all right, let's take this, and so that was pretty much that, and then I didn't do anything for WWE until 2013 again. So, yeah, but.
And you were doing like a persona there. You were doing almost like a ladies' man kind of thing. And
to love, Rhett Titus.
That was it. Where you would stomp your way up the stairs. I always remembered that because I liked that. It would catch everyone's attention. and then you'd get in the ring. I remember that, Addicted to Love, Rhett Titus. But you did a character. You did do a character similar to that when you were the Romantic Touch.
Yeah. Well, Addicted to Love, Rhett Titus, he was in Ring of Honor early on, and then once me and Kenny King started getting serious as a tag team, it kind of just the bow tie came off, and it's kind of it got more serious and that sort of thing. And then Rhett Titus got kicked out of Ring of Honor when Scum lost the Loser Leaves Town Steel Cage Warfare match. And then a few months later, the Romantic Touch popped up under a mask, and a lot of mannerisms similar to Addicted to Love. And it was just I love just getting in there and wrestling with people and just feeling each other out and wrestling. But there's also something that I love about, portraying a character in the ring as well, where like everything you do is like based off of the character, because it takes a different mindset to try to put character work with athleticism and, make it all work in a place like Ring of Honor, where a lot of the action is in ring action, there's not a whole lot of.
But I think you need a blend of everything. It's kind of like the circus, like they say. You need the lion tamers, you need the acrobats, you need the clowns, you need the strongmen. It's like that. Because there's going to be something that people will like, even if there's stuff that they don't like. I love that wrestling is an art form that can be seen by and represented by so many different things. It can be comedy, it can be technical, it could be violent, it can be aerial, it can be all those things. And I think that's what makes wrestling cool. And I think that's what's cool about Ring of Honor is that you watch a card from top to bottom, you get all of that. You'll see a guy like Jonathan Gresham just as much as you'll see a guy like Danhausen. With that said, I feel like I've been ignoring some of the questions that have been coming through because there have been some good ones. Here's one from Count It Out. That's another great podcast hosted by Mike and Tyler. They want to know, he says, "Hey, Rhett, big fan of your work. Do you have any fun memories of working in Toronto?"
Yeah, Toronto's always been a great city to me. Always love going to Toronto. It's probably when we were touring and stuff, and whenever Toronto would come up, it's like, oh yeah, it's Toronto. Ted Reeves Arena, that's always a good spot. I remember the one year we did a double shot in Toronto, 2 nights, and it was one night we had Bret Hart and one night we had Ric Flair. So unbeknownst to anybody in Ring of Honor, we get to the show, the Ted Reeves Arena, and the whole parking lot is just full of garbage. And everyone's like, what the hell? They're like, oh, garbage strike. I'm like, garbage strike? Like, yeah, they stopped, the garbage man went on strike and they stopped picking up the garbage. So, like, everywhere, dude, like, the parking lot was just, it looked like a landfill, Like, I was like, there's nowhere to park. It was chaos, But it just seemed like a regular thing in Canada. I love how everybody's so easygoing. Because I'm a pretty easygoing person myself. So
we got the producer man wanted to jump in here. I think I was just gonna say, Rhett, real quick, just we're
freezing up.
Yeah, we're having some technical issues. Just hold.
Sorry, guys.
It's all good.
Yeah, you guys are buzzing right now.
Yeah, there's something going on. Hold on, let me just mute it for a second.
Yeah,
so the stream doesn't get that obstruction. Yeah, hold on a second. Let's check it out now. We're live.
Yeah, this happens sometimes when things are live.
Yeah, it's fine.
Do you want me to talk over it? Because I can fill in the gap here, no problem.
Yeah, hold on a sec. Yeah.
Looks like Rhett has left the building.
Hold on.
This is another great opportunity to tell everyone out there that they can join us tomorrow, starting at 8, for the Ring of Honor watch along. Here on our channel, we're going to be live just like we are now. And as you can see with me here, you don't have to worry about someone flubbing their lines over and over and over like we've seen with Kyle and with Frank, bless his heart. But all that to say, it's going to be a great time. We're going to have some special guests, some of our podcast friends, some of my wrestling friends, and we're going to be breaking down all the great action coming from Ring of Honor's 19th anniversary special. Starts at 8. First hour is free, so you don't need pay-per-view to see it. And you can come join us. And if the action doesn't keep you entertained, which I can't imagine that that'll happen, but if the action doesn't keep you entertained, we damn sure will keep you entertained. Because you know when Jeremy Prophet, the Harbinger of Truth, is in the house, entertainment is sure to follow, as is the truth. Now, hopefully we'll be able to get him back on here, but don't worry there, people who are coming in with questions. I will get to the questions. You know, I see you there. You know, you got Mr. Generate there. I see saying wanting to know the COVID protocols. You can actually go watch the Amy Rose one that we did a couple hours ago. She goes into that and explains the protocol that they have to go through. There's a great plug for it. So that question has already been answered. And I think we'll have Rhett back with us here in no time. It looks like he's getting settled in right now. You good?
Yeah, I'm good. I got a little visitor here. Wants to say hi, though. He's been banging on the door. Hey, this is my son, RJ. He's hey, say hi, dude. He's getting ready for bed, you know.
Oh, okay.
He's got the long flow going, just like his dad.
Good. Going to be a future champion someday?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've been he's about 20 months, so we've been working on kicking, kicking the ball.
Oh, okay.
Kicking the ball.
It's a start.
And throwing the ball, catching the ball. Today we even threw a tee in there we had this big ball out of a protein shaker, and he was hitting the ball with the bat. So he's
going to be quite an athlete.
And he also now this is what I really take pride in is he's gotten to watch me work out so many times over the pandemic and that sort of thing. And now when his mom's taking him through Target, and then all of a sudden, he sees a dumbbell, and he's like, and she's like, what? And like, she hands him a 2-pound dumbbell, and he's like,
Oh, wow.
And like, he'll take that thing, and I'm not even joking, like all day, he'll just be like, and he makes like the sound effects, the breathing,
So that's amazing. So then in the next 20 years, you and him can be like Rush and Bestia.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I would be remiss because I just saw a great question come up on the screen here. It's by Pete Pegleg Habernal. Asking if you think that, or I'll say it like him, y'all think the forbidden door is open between ROH and AEW? Would a crossover like that benefit ROH more than, say, TNA or Impact Wrestling?
Well, I hope that forbidden door is locked and the key is thrown away. I think we're doing something different at Ring of Honor. I don't really enjoy like current wrestling as much as I do when I watch Ring of Honor. Like I said, like it's not sports entertainment. It's wrestling as a sport, and hopefully that door stays locked and the keys thrown away, and I just don't see the two companies really meshing well together, just because we present ourselves in a different way and they present themselves in whatever way they want to, and I'm really digging what we're doing in Ring of Honor. And the thing is, if we can get all those eyes that used to be on Ring of Honor back to Ring of Honor, and they see like what's going on here, and they're like, oh wow, like why did we ever change the channel?
Yep.
If we can find a spot where everybody can watch Ring of Honor all at once, because it's syndicated, so it plays different in this market than this market and that market. The FITE TV at 7 on Mondays, that's always a good time. That's when FITE TV puts it up, and it's kind of like where everybody will meet, to try to watch it all at once. We run the Ring of Honor watch parties, so all the talent will be tweeting and following along and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. But if we could just get like one time slot where it's just like, all right, Thursday night Ring of Honor, or whatever, that would be very beneficial going forward.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree. And you said something that just it touched my soul. if you will, because I really feel like Ring of Honor deserves to get a lot of those fans that were fans coming back and watching, because I know they've gone through a lot of changes. A lot of people have come and gone. And the thing is that the product has been on the up and up, and you guys, especially working through the pandemic and still being able to provide people with great content, still being able to provide a safe work environment for all the talent and the staff and the personnel, still being able to make sure that people are collecting a paycheck and able to provide for their families throughout this whole thing. They're doing business the right way. And the product is firing on all cylinders. So I would hope to see that people, once people are allowed back at shows, flocking in droves to Ring of Honor, selling out venues and watching a real kick-ass product. I really think that you guys are just, one spark away from, lighting a fire that brings people back to, that brings attention back to it. And I mean, that's why, I reached out to you guys so that we can do these interviews, because I think more people need to be watching Ring of Honor. And, hey, I don't have the biggest reach, but I may have the biggest mouth. So, you guys have me on your side to tell people that, hey, don't be sleeping on Ring of Honor. You're missing some great quality wrestling, and I'm gonna shout it till the cows come home, man. Believe me.
Well, thank you. It's greatly appreciated by everybody. And you touched on the pandemic and that sort of thing. And wow, I couldn't ask for better care and all that sort of stuff during the pandemic than Ring of Honor took care of everybody. It was at a time where we didn't know a whole lot about the coronavirus, and it was new, and the testing wasn't really that official yet. And Ring of Honor was just like, I'll never forget, I was traveling on my wedding anniversary to Las Vegas for the pay-per-view and the TV taping. And I got off the plane, and Grizzly Redwood, this was his first match back to Ring of Honor. He was coming in for the past versus present show. They brought him back, and it had been 7 years since he had wrestled in Ring of Honor. And I seen him and Cheeseburger when I got off the plane, and they're like, "Hey, did you check your email yet?" And I was like, "No, why? Like, the shows are canceled." I'm like, "What?" Like,
oh wow,
because at that time it wasn't that crazy yet. But the thing was, like, I know how much it costs to run the pay-per-view production and fly all these people in from all different countries. Like, we got guys coming in from Ireland, Scotland, and
Australia, UK,
and guys from all over
Mexico,
Mexico, Canada.
One from Canada.
Well, it still counts, but people from all over, and all the hotels for the week, and they had catering all lined up, and the production, the time slot to put the pay-per-view on pay-per-view, how much that costs. And it's like, man, they're just, throwing all this away for our safety so that we feel comfortable, and that was greatly appreciated. And then they got us flights to go home earlier, and it was just one of those things where it's like, all right, well, I guess 2 weeks at home will be pretty cool to just hang out, relax, Then all of a sudden 2 weeks turns into 3 weeks. And then all of a sudden, like, the next, 2 months of Ring of Honor shows are just canceled. And it's like, oh boy, what's going on here? But, they let us know, hey, all your checks are going to be there. Don't worry about that. Everyone's getting paid. We're going to do everything that we can to make you guys feel comfortable. And I was like, oh, all right, let's get back going in June. And then not yet, July. And then by the time August rolled around, they had gotten together with the Maryland State Athletic Commission, which is one of the strictest athletic commissions. I don't know if you ever wrestled in Maryland, but
no, I never. No.
Yeah, it's very, very, very strict. There's only maybe Oklahoma and Missouri, maybe, and New Orleans, Louisiana, maybe the one stricter than them, but very, very strict. And we had to, be tested before we left our house, tested as soon as we get there, tested again before we wrestle. And the ropes and turnbuckle pads got to be cleaned down in between each match. The canvases get taken off in between each match. Brand new canvas put on, 15 canvases a day. That stuff adds up too, And then also we weren't allowed to go out to eat. We had to get all our food ordered in, and we would get a per diem for that. And they would also take our temperatures at the door to make sure nobody was feeling, and a questionnaire. They really went above and beyond to make everybody comfortable. And knock on wood, so far so good. We haven't had any positive tests coming out of any of the tapings. There's been a few people that they've caught before they left their house, which is going to happen, but other than that, we've been very lucky and very efficient in the way that they make things go. And the bubble has been quite a success. And we've been able to tape a bunch of TV all at once, and then have the next month off to spend time with their family and regroup and recover and those sorts of things. But I'll tell you what, when you're recording a bunch of matches back to back to back to back to back, and TVs, pay-per-views, and all that sort of stuff, it's like it can be taxing on the body. When all of a sudden you've been sitting around for a month or so. So it's like I would like to get back into the swing of things, where it's like getting back out there every weekend and doing the damn thing, live shows, crowds back in. But at the end of the day, it's not just us that we're thinking about. We're thinking about our fans and our families as well. So once everything's in the clear, which we're like that close, we're that close, to having people back, it's going to be absolutely electric, and I can't personally wait.
Yeah, no, and I think it's great to hear of a company actually putting its talent and its people there before, making money and all these kinds of things. I think it's great, and it tells me, like, this is a company, I would be proud to work for. And I'm hearing a lot of different stories of how, people decided to re-sign with the company because they were treated so well. And I think it's setting a great precedence in wrestling that, you got to put your talent and your employees first in this era of independent contractors, which has kind of become a dirty word in the industry that companies can kind of use to get around things. They're definitely, rolling out the red carpet for you guys and making sure that, you're treated as human beings first and not just as, neglectable pawns on a chessboard. So I'm really glad to hear that. And I definitely think that you guys are super lucky to work for such a great company. Did have a question that came up here, and I think this question relates to an incident that I had heard about in regards to pretty much, I'll just read it. Rhett, did you ever have any jealous boyfriends wait around for you after shows when you were doing the Addicted to Love gimmick? I remember hearing about an incident like this.
Well, there is, if you ever go look at True TV, there was a show All Worked Up where they, followed the Ring of Honor security guard around from city to city and that sort of thing. And there's actually a video of a fan, who was upset that I gave his girlfriend the hotel key, who approaches me. And the fan's buddy is actually Ethan Page, So, I signed a
non-disclosure,
NDA. I don't know what the terms of that exactly is, but True TV may not be as true as you think.
That's interesting. I'd heard about that, and my first thought, because I think that was after you and I had met, we had done that trial in WWE, and my first thought when I heard about that was, wow, okay, he sure is a lot tougher than he looks then. And truth be told, I mean, whether you were aware of it or not, guys like us at that tryout, we had some heat with some of the boys there, because when you're doing well, there's always going to be people, no one hates the guy who's sitting on the bench every game. They hate the guy who's batting cleanup and, getting all the praise and the glory. But, I remember seeing that. See, I never had a problem with you. I was, hoping that we would have got to do more work together, but, seeing that, I was like, okay, yeah, this guy's got some edge to him. Maybe if those guys had wanted to mess with him, they might have bitten off more than they could chew.
Hey, like when we're in situations like that, like I always just look at it as like, hey, like let's all get better. If I can help, if I see something that is going to help somebody else, like maybe portray their character or something that they did in the ring that, like, hey man, like you ever think about doing it this way? Like I'm like very like like not pushy with my approach, because some people they don't want to hear it, you know, like they're like, oh, screw you, you're trying to, you know, but I'm always like brothered up at all these things, you know, just because like I don't know, that's just where I came from, you know, we're always pushing each other to get better and always putting our best foot forward. So that's just how I am, you know. I'm not like a person that's going to be like, you know, trying to hold somebody down or, you know, anything like that. I'm always thinking about like the big picture and everybody, you know. So, you know, because even, you know, we're at FCW, you know, trying out for WWE, but, you know, one thing that some people fail to remember is like, hey, like, we're not just here to try to get a job, which we are, but we're also here to like learn and like take this all in, because we may never get another chance to learn from Dusty Rhodes, you know, like we may never get another chance to learn from Dr. Tom, which I was lucky to have. We may never get another chance to learn from Norman Smiley or Steve Kern, you know. So it's like those moments where you gotta be like, hey man, like, you know, let's just take this all in. And, you know, I love like being a coach at one of the Ring of Honor seminar and tryouts, because, you know, there may be another coach or somebody there that has a different mindset than me. And I'm like, oh, wow, I like that, you know. And like, even as like, you know, the coach there, you know, I'm taking something away. I'm learning something from that, you know. So it's always good to you know, it's like Dr. Tom says, you know, it's the different flavors of ice cream, you know. The Canadian ice cream might be a little bit different flavor than the New Jersey ice cream, you know. So but we mix these flavors together. Whoa, hey, what we got here, you know.
That I remember Dr. Tom saying exactly that. Yeah, the different flavors ice cream. You know, it's funny because like my first memory of Dr. Tom, and I got along really well with him at that tryout, and I started in his ring. I don't know if you started in Dr. Tom's ring. I think you might have been with like Kidman or with Norman on the first day.
All I remember about the first day is I had gotten like hard weighed by Colt Cabana like about 6 months before, and like it was like the first drill, and like me and Memphis Mark the Memphis Mofo.
The Memphis Mofo. Yeah. I remember.
Mark Rivera. We locked up, and like when we locked up, his thumb just like came across my forehead, and that scar just opened up, like, and I just started like gushing blood. And I'm like, oh man, like and I'm thinking like, oh man, they're not gonna let me like do anything, like, you know. But you know, luckily I got it cleaned up, and it's, you know, like I said, it was like a 6-month-old scar, you know.
It's funny because I remember from that first day, because I was in Dr. Tom's ring, and he made like he asked everyone who has the most experience, and there was one guy. I think the guy was from Vegas. Don't really remember his name. So I guess, you know, my memory doesn't remember every single detail. But there was this guy from Vegas, and he said he had 18 years experience. Didn't look like much, but, you know, he had 18 years experience, which, you know, when you look at it, if you only wrestle, let's say like once a month, 18 years experience, you're only, you know, getting maybe 12 matches in a calendar year. So it doesn't really add up to that much. All that to say, it took Dr. Tom probably about 20 minutes or so to correct his lockup, just the basic, you know, lockup, like 20 minutes. And this is the first drill, you know, I think we just stretched, and then that was the first thing. I'm just standing there like, this guy's been doing this for 18 years, can't lock up.
Yeah.
But what's even funnier than that, and if I ever get him in an interview, I'm sure he won't have a problem admitting it, but the next guy to go was Jinder, and it took him about 10 to 15 minutes to do a proper lockup as well. Wow. And then you have me on deck next. I was next guy in line, and I'm like, okay, well, you know, I'm going to find out where I end up here on the totem pole, and I lock up with Dr. Tom. There's no reaction from him, just kind of looks at me. Okay, that was good. Lock up with me again. I do it again. Okay, good. Now you lock up with everybody. That was because he had spent half an hour correcting the other guys. That's a true story. Totally true story. I guess I shouldn't be ignoring some of these questions here. We had Bruno, if you want to pull up that one from Pete there. We talked about this a little bit early on. I don't know, maybe Pete Pegleg Habernal, who had that great question before, didn't see the start of our interview, but you did mention Jim Cornette, and we talked about the heat with Kenny King. So he's saying that Kenny King has stated he never had heat with ROH, just Cornette. And, did you have any heat with him during his time in ROH? Also, thoughts on Jim Cornette. So we know the middle question because we talked about that, but maybe you could talk to us about Jim Cornette. That part I'm curious about.
James E. Corner, you and me. Man, Jim Cornette, what a wrestling mind, when he was the executive producer from Ring of Honor, it was every day was like a learning experience. Man, I'll never forget. I had one of my favorite matches of my life. It was myself and Kenny versus the Briscoe brothers, and it was WrestleMania weekend. Honor takes center stage, and he was like, "I'll never forget." We had this like big strike exchange, and me and Jay Briscoe double juice, bleeding our, we're head to head, It was fun. It's funny. I'll touch on another thing right after this too. So we're head to head, we're bleeding buckets and throwing the strikes. And I'll never forget, Jim Cornette told me, he's like, if you get a chance, hit a strike like this and go across his body and sell down. And I was like, okay, and I hit finally the strike exchange ended, and I hit him with this big one right across his chest, and I fell down with it. And I just remember blood going up in the sky and seeing Jim Cornette pop out of his chair and throw his arms up in the air, and the crowd just erupted. I was like, damn, if we got Jim Cornette, we got everybody.
Wow.
Because he's seen a lot of wrestling. But
See,
man,
yeah.
He was so cool to learn from, every week it was something new. It was like, damn, like, why didn't I think of that, And, I got to see him fairly recently at the Crockett Cup, and I was very excited to see him, and he was, oh, man, you got in great shape. Thanks, Jim. Thanks. You look great, and I listened to his podcasts all the time, both of them, absolutely love his podcast. And the funny thing is, I'll be watching wrestling on TV, and all these thoughts are running through my mind, and then I'll listen to Jim Cornette's podcast, and it's like, well, I'm glad somebody agrees with me. And it's funny though, because once you work for Jim Cornette, you like learn like all these things and habits and little things that he doesn't like, and you always like have him in the back of your head, like just like, oh man, I don't want to get on like Jim Cornette's bad list. Like you're just thinking like, oh no, like hand-to-hand tags, and all these sort of things, just like the little things, and because I don't ever want to tune into Jim Cornette's podcast and hear him run me through the mud. He's always had complimentary things to say about me, which I, man, that's what better praise can you have than Jim Cornette? Because he doesn't praise many people.
That's true. That's true.
Me and Kenny, we didn't have heat at the time. The thing was, I was like, hey man, like, do what you gotta do. Like that's not what I'm doing, but if that's what you feel you gotta do, like so be it. And we stayed in touch the whole time he was in Impact, and he was like, hey, they had just done like, I think it was like 8 weeks of TV, and they had like all this like groundbreaking stuff, and he like did this big dive off of a cage, and it was like all his like star making performances, and then he got word that it was all getting scrapped. Like he was like, it's all getting scrapped, because I think Hernandez at the time was still under contract with Lucha Underground or some sort of.
I remember that, yeah.
Some sort of something that prevented them from playing. And Hernandez had joined the Beatdown Clan, so he was in all these segments. So they scrapped like 8 weeks of them on TV, and then they And on top of that, then they like switched him to a per appearance type deal, and like he was like, "Hey man, like, you think they'd be open to me having coming back?" And I was like, "Well, I'll put in the word and see what we can do." And Jim Cornette, he obviously wasn't there anymore. And had Jim Cornette still been there, Kenny King probably would have been welcomed back, but he was gone by that point. And originally, Kenny King was supposed to come back to Ring of Honor to team with the Romantic Touch as the Kind Caress. We were going to be the Afternoon Delight as opposed to the All Night Express. But then, like, they're like, why don't we just come back All Night Express, Rhett Titus, Kenny King, answer the Briscoes Open Challenge live on pay-per-view. Nobody would see it coming out of left field and just hit the ground running. And
Yep.
And, Kenny was welcome back. We showed up that night on pay-per-view, and we beat the Briscoes in their open challenge. And, even though I felt that we were better as a team then, you know what I mean? Like, than we were before when we were tag team champions. It was just so hard to, like, hit the ground running because there was so many, like, tag teams that were already established, like the Young Bucks, Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian, the Briscoes, Roppongi Vice, War Machine, the Kingdom. It was like, all right, like, we've been gone for a few years, but like, hey, like, let's hit the ground running. It's just there was just so many teams though that we eventually became a 6-man tag team with Caprice Coleman, and then that eventually led to a loser breaks up match between us. And Kenny had also left again for a little while, like about a month or two, to go film The Bachelor while we're it's WrestleMania weekend. Hey man, I gotta go film The Bachelor. And it's like, all right, like, we did have like big matches coming up, but okay. And then, like, it was one of those things where our 6-man had our group, our faction, the Rebellion, Caprice Coleman, Kenny King, Rhett Titus, and Shane Taylor, we had to break up. But it was one of those things where the All Night Express, we could continue teaming because, it was the group that had to break up. But Kenny was like, the Bachelor's like, hey, we really want to promote you, but we think it's better if you're on your own. We don't really know this guy with you, and he's not on the show, so it's not really going to make for good television and that sort of thing. And so I was like, okay. And then it was like one of those things too where I was like, okay, Kenny, do your thing, man. Like, and I went on my own way, and then timeout. My son is crying.
Oh, that's okay.
Got eyes out. What happened?
It's okay. That gives us time to once again promote the awesome event that we're doing tomorrow, which is going to be our Ring of Honor watch along Jofo in the Ring of Honor, where we're going to be watching the card from top to bottom. Join us, submit your comments, come on here and have a good time. That's the bottom line of it. We want to get eyes on Ring of Honor. It's going to be a great card. We have so much in store for you. There's going to be all kinds of surprises, surprise guests. It's just going to be the place to be on a Friday night. And what better way to cap it off than watching a great pay-per-view filled with tons of great matches. As soon as when Rhett comes back, we'll talk a bit more, and then we're going to actually go through the entire card. So for those of you who don't know, you will know. And
Jeremy, I think while not many people, I don't think this has even been announced yet. Maybe you could break a little news to a few people in the chat that know that you and Frank may be making an appearance this week.
Oh yes, we're going to be appearing on Pantelis.
Yes.
That is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be doing that tomorrow. I think it's going to be for the Patreon exclusive, if I'm not mistaken. And then the episode will be released at a later point for, all you laymen's out there. But if you want to see that, check it out. Me and Frank going to be on there having a great time. And I don't know what to expect yet, but I like new challenges. So, if they're going to try to drag me into the deep waters, they're going to see just how far I can swim. And it looks like Rhett is back with us now. I think he's put the kids to bed. And all good on your end?
Oh, well, my son, he just front flipped out of his crib. So his mom was
oh, wow.
out,
practicing that lucha.
Yeah, tucking and rolling. But you know, she gets worked up, and once the mom gets worked up, the baby gets worked up. So
Yeah. I
he'll
see
rub
how
some
it is.
dirt on it. He'll be fine, you know.
I wanted to ask you because you brought up Jim Cornette, and you know that's all good. You know, I'm kind of more of a Vince Russo guy. Don't hate me for it, but what I always say to people, and I feel like this applies to Cornette, is that you know, just because you may disagree with one thing that a person says or a couple of things they say, it doesn't mean that everything they say is to be neglected. And I think that's one of the unfortunate things I see with people who critique Jim Cornette is he may say something and it could just be one thing that just offends them so harshly that they want to disregard everything he says. And truth be told, I think there's a lot of good knowledge that Cornette brings to the table. I think that his emphasis on realism in professional wrestling is a great thing. And it's often a lost art because, you know, wrestling at the heart of it is supposed to be believable. And when you sacrifice believability for anything, you're just, you know, desecrating what the business, the no pun intended, the foundation of what the business was built on, credibility and legitimacy. So, you know, like I said, I'm more of a Vince Russo guy, but I do see merit in a ton of stuff that Jim Cornette says. There was another point I had wanted to make as well. Oh yeah. So when Cornette was running Ring of Honor, I remember I had done a match with Jay Lethal. And he had actually told me at the time, he said, hey, you know, you might want to send your stuff to Ring of Honor. I'm sure Cornette would like you. I don't know what he meant by that. And I started saying, well, you know, maybe I should, you know, get some matches together, some links. No, just send him an 8x10. I'm sure he'll see you and he'll like you. And it's one of those things that kind of haunts me because I never took him up on that. But I don't know. I do think I could be the kind of person Jim Cornette would enjoy watching because, you know, in my work, I try to bring a certain level of realism to it while still making sure that it's entertaining. But at the heart of it, it's got to be believable and it's got to be violent and legit, as legit as they come. That's how I see it.
No, yeah. I mean, shame on you for not taking that advice. You know, who knows what could have happened.
Maybe I'd be in the foundation. Who knows?
Hey, it's one of those things where, you know, could have, would have, should have, but, you know, you're doing well for yourself. You know, you create your own little lane and doing your damn thing. So, you know.
Well, what I've been trying to do now is, you know, the podcast thing, it's funny because my education is actually in journalism. So this is actually me using the skills they taught me in college. Wrestling was what I wanted to do, but this is actually what I went to school for. So it's a bit of a natural fit that it's a podcast about wrestling. But the main thing I've been all about is about this right back here, about Canada and getting us more notoriety because, you know, we have it harder than anyone. And I know that might sound strange to you because we're pretty much your neighbor. Oh, you can't hear me?
No. I'm just backing up what you're saying because I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, man, like, you know, like these, because once you messaged me, I was like, oh man, Jeremy, like, I wonder how he's doing. Like, you know, and I started, you know, oh, cool. He's got the podcast and I know about the PCO stuff. And like, I was like, man, like, the Canadian wrestlers, like, they have it so bad, like, because, like, you go to America, you know, obviously there's a bunch of different television shows for wrestling and that sort of thing, and you go to Japan, and there's all these different wrestling shows. Mexico, you know, Canada, it's like you guys have, there's no mainstream Canadian wrestling promotion. Not to knock any of the, like, Canadian promotions like Smash or Super Kicked or anything, or CWE or any of those places, but like there's not, the Canadian guys are always trying to get somewhere else. And on top of that, when they're trying to get to America or wherever they may go, you know, they got to deal with the border issues, you know, where, oh, you're wrestling here, what are you getting paid? You know, like, man, I've seen so many Canadian guys just get like caught up in that trap of, you know, hey, you're not allowed in America for the next, was it 5 years, or usually the ban is 5 years, right?
Yep.
It's just, it's kind of mind boggling to me. I mean, hopefully, well, I guess Impact is taping back in Tennessee again now. So then, because they were taping in Canada for a while, right?
Yeah. You were doing such a great job of probably better than anyone that I've interviewed. You were doing a great job of saying what I usually have to say and to explain it to people. So you're already ahead.
I think he's the first one.
He is
to know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get it, because I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, damn, like these Canadian guys, like, you know, and the spots are so few and far between, because not only like there could be like 100 guys in Canada ready to go, ready for TV, but then all of a sudden you got to buy their work visa. You know, you got to bring them in from Canada. You got to, you know, pay them to wrestle. You got to hotel room, flights, and do all this stuff.
I'll actually correct you on one thing. You said you got to buy the work visa. It's not quite that simple, because you actually need a company that can
sponsor you,
that can sponsor you. Yeah. So we know there are really only 3 companies that can do it right now. There's WWE, AEW, Ring of Honor. From what I know, other companies try to, you know, brag and boast that they can do it. They can't. You know, I'm not going to name any names, because we're here to big up Ring of Honor. We're not here to put down anybody else. But bottom line is, there's 3 companies that can do it. Even at that, you have to justify the performer is an exceptional talent. You have to justify that they're not someone who is taking a job away from an American citizen. They're a very low impact on the labor force. These are just a lot of big words to pretty much say, you know, they have to be someone special. And then it has to go through a 3-step approval process, thousands and thousands of dollars in fees, which I've always said, to me, you know, it could be 10 grand or whatever. I don't really care, because it's an investment in yourself. It's like education. You know, you want to go and get an education, you're going to be paying a lot more than 10 grand. So, you know, that's how I see it, is I'd be, you know, happy to put up the money for that, but it's finding the company that can do it, especially when we're here in Canada and we don't have that kind of visibility. You know, you and I, you've worked the independents, you know, long enough. Even though you started with Ring of Honor, you've worked the independents. You know that it's a pretty simple game. You know, you start to get some hype, get some buzz, wrestle in a few of the right places, rub shoulders with a few people that can vouch for you and say that, you know, you're not a bad human being, and, you know, you could be a good guy to have in the locker room, which that's just as important as anything you can do in the ring, because there's a lot of guys who are great talents, but you don't want them in your locker room. So, you know, we know how it is. Unfortunately for us, we're taking that huge risk if we try to get across the border. If we're honest about it, we're probably not going to get through. If we lie about it, we're probably going to get banned, as, you know, it's happened to a lot of people, good friends of mine like Speedball Mike Bailey. And it's crazy to me that we don't have the scouting, because that is what I think would change things, is that if companies would assign, okay, here, we're going to have this person that's going to scout Canada. Their job is just to look at the indies in Canada, tell us who's hot right now. You know, WWE kind of does it with the UK. They have their NXT UK over there. So they got their finger on the pulse over there. I usually use the example of, like, it's like drilling for oil. So, you know, WWE, they're drilling in the States. All the top companies are doing that. Now they're going overseas. They're getting the top cut of guys from the UK. Then you have other companies, AEW, Ring of Honor, you know, maybe getting a few of the other guys there. Whereas in Canada, you still have that first level, that first top cut of guys that I always say they could be future champions, future main eventers, future Hall of Famers even, that are just, you know, like trees falling in the forest with no one around to hear them, you know, myself included. I've been trying to make as much noise about this as possible to see, you know, when are we going to get the scouting? Every other professional sport, you know, I'm a big hockey fan. I played for 15 years. To me, it's like, you want to build a great hockey team, you're scouting in Finland, in the Czech Republic, in Russia, and in Canada and the US and these kinds of places, so you can build the biggest, best, most, you know, amazing team. Wrestling, unfortunately, they've kind of forgotten about Canada, all these companies.
What I personally hope for Canada is that, like, some Canadian prince or, you know, whatever, comes along and is like, hey, you know what? Like, let's put on, like, a real wrestling promotion out here, you know? Like, if somebody were to start something like AEW, but start it in Canada and, like, have, you know, sign the guys, pay the guys, you know, put a TV product on, pay-per-view, whatever, and just run it all Canada. It's like every other country has it, like, except Canada.
Yeah, we're the only major wrestling. You know, we've contributed so many great wrestlers, from, you know, the Hart family, the Jerichos, the Benoits, all these people. But now there's this drought because, you know, we can't go and get ourselves valued by appearing in the right places and, you know, making those connections. You brought up something that was interesting, and I wanted to actually let you know this. I don't know if you're aware of this, but Ring of Honor actually airs on 2 different channels here in Quebec. there's an English broadcast and there's a French broadcast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the English one is on the FITE Network, airing, I think, in the same time slot as in the States, Monday at 7. And then you have the other one that kind of airs sporadically on the French version of ESPN, pretty much. It's called RDS. So in the French broadcast, it's actually done along with a company from here called the IWS, the International Wrestling Syndicate. So it's a 2-hour show where the first hour, one of the hours is IWS, which I wrestle for. I'm a tag team champion for them.
Oh, wow.
And the other hour is Ring of Honor. So it airs, the only problem is that it airs monthly. So it's kind of, because you guys are weekly with your show, right? Yeah. It's weekly. So this is a monthly show that kind of will take maybe one event and then it'll show it, or maybe take a few matches from here and there and show that in that portion. So it's like we actually are on the same show, you and I. We've probably even had matches on the same episodes. So I would think that, it would be something maybe internally where they would be watching and scrutinizing this broadcast, even though it's in another language, and they would maybe see talents from there. And it could be a good little feeder. It's just that, people aren't able to connect these dots like I do in knowing that we're all kind of, stuck in purgatory here in Canada until someone can finally do something and reach enough people. So that's kind of been my crusade, because I think Ring of Honor is an awesome company. And I think that, you guys could definitely benefit from, looking at Canada. I don't know how far you are up the totem pole and in touch with scouts, but hey, if you want to let them know that, there's Jeremy Prophet and he's just the runt of the litter because there's 100 guys like him in Canada looking for work, looking to make a name for themselves, guys that could give the Jay Lethals and the Rushas of this world a run for their money in Ring of Honor title matches. PCO knows what's up. He knows I'd whoop his ass any day.
Hey man, like being involved with PCO and like his web series, it's not a bad spot to have because Destro has come in for Final Battle and stuff like that with PCO. So it's always one of those things, like right place, right time. And right now it's hard because it's not like even Ring of Honor is going to Canada. You can't even go and show face,
yeah. No, I hear you. I mean, you guys got tons of guys who are trapped, across the ocean, like in the UK and in Australia and all those places. I know it's really just a case of really bad timing when it comes to that. But my hope is that once this is all over, I'll have made enough noise that it'll eventually fall on someone who will actually take the time to listen and do something about it. Because I think you guys are going to come back better than ever. I think shows are going to be sold out. People are going to want to see Ring of Honor, and you guys are firing on all cylinders. So I think that not only are you going to get the people in there, but you're going to deliver, make them all want to come back, make them all want to bring their friends. And I'd love to be a part of it. But if I'm not a part of it in the ring, I'd love to be a part of it behind the mic, getting hype on you guys. Hell, who knows? Maybe if Riccaboni and Caprice Coleman need a third man on the broadcast team, I'd be happy to lend the sweet, savory sounds of my voice to that. I think we had a question. We had a question about Riccaboni, I think, if you want to scroll back. Yeah, because I think our buddies Counted Out, Mike and Tyler, they do a great podcast. Maybe you might want to be a guest with them at some point. They recently had Ian Riccaboni on their show. Oh. And here's the question. So pretty much there. We had Ian Riccaboni on our show this week. Do you have any fun Ian stories, and where do you both rank him? I think that's probably supposed to be among the current announcers. Sorry for the burial, guys.
Well, first off, Ian Riccaboni, he's amazing at his job, and I was very, I don't know if discouraged or disappointed is the right word when I saw the Wrestling Observer newsletter and he was like number 9 and the announcers. I was like, you're kidding me? He's the best going today. Him and Caprice, they complement each other wonderfully. It's like, you wouldn't looking on paper, you'd be like, but they're like peanut butter and jelly. You stick those guys together, it's gonna work. But Ian, great guy, and not only does he do all that he does for Ring of Honor, the guy, still has a full-time job and, a wife and 2 kids. So, and he runs a podcast with Carrie Silken as well. And they do another show on Conrad Thompson's the website
His network.
Add free shows.
Yeah. Thank you. And they do a show on there, and it's like, man, like this guy, like, and does he sleep? But he always has a smile on his face, and apparently at one point, there was like one point in time where Ian Riccaboni, just he was doing his thing, announcing and getting a lot of good like publicity and doing his thing, and this was one of those times where I was just because wrestling is all about those peaks and the valleys, and this was one of those times when I was down in the valley, and I was just just getting stomped on. I was getting the heat put on me.
Yeah.
And Ian pulled me aside, and he's like, "Hey man, like, I'll never forget what you did for me. Because he was at the Monster Factory, and I would do shows at the Monster Factory. I always see him at camps and stuff like that. And I was thinking about giving it up with Ring of Honor, but one day you gave me a pep talk, and you said all the right things, and and unbeknownst to me, I'm sorry, but I had no clue that I ever did that for him. I was just, being my natural self, and just, seeing a brother that may have, been frustrated and been like, hey man, like, and he's like, so now, like, I just want to tell you, like, I think the world of you, and just, just keep at it, man. Like, like they can't hold you down for too long, and man, sure enough, fast forward, now, Ian's doing his thing on commentary. I'm doing my thing in the ring, and man, like, I didn't even know I affected him in that way. But like hearing that from him, like, I was like, man, like, not that you like that. I'm the type of person who needs like a pat on the back or anything like that, because like every day, like, I just wake up and I'm just trying to get after it in each and every way, like hit the gym and do everything that I gotta do, and diet, and like, what are we in March now? Yeah, it's
March.
March 26th. So far this year I've had one rest day in the gym, and prior to that my last rest day was November 19th. So I'm just like a guy who's got like,
That's good.
Focus. It may not be good for your body, but like I'm just.
I don't know. I take it from a guy who takes no days off. I think it's pretty good.
Okay, cool,
yeah.
cool. So we're on the same path.
I was gonna say. I mean, I think it's same thing like wrestling. The more you wrestle, the more you bump, the more you condition your body, you callous it to be able to handle that kind of wear and tear. So yeah, man, keep it up. Praise to you. Get in the gym as much as possible. Don't take those days off. The days off are for the ones who aren't hungry enough. And you seem pretty hungry. And I think a time will come where you will get that singles championship. I don't think it would be a complete career for you until you get the Ring of Honor championship, whether you got to take it from one of your foundation teammates or from a guy like Roosh, who, I think would have a good beating coming his way.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if Jay Lethal, I think the world of Jay Lethal, and I don't think I'll have the opportunity to get in the ring with Roosh for the Ring of Honor World Championship after Friday night, because Jay Lethal is going to, create history and become the only three-time Ring of Honor World Champion. But I would love to challenge Jay Lethal for the Ring of Honor World Championship, Jonathan Gresham for the Pure Championship. And hopefully Tracy wins the TV. Hey, as long as the goal stays within the foundation, we're all going to be, happy. So.
That sounds good. I love the sound of that. And, we are running a little low on time because, believe it or not, we actually have this ridiculous curfew here in place in Quebec, where if you're outside after 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, they can fine you up to $6,000, because of COVID. These are the kind of... Oh, yeah, that's the truth. These are the kind of draconian measures that we're living under. But before you go, see, I had a bit of a bet with Amy Rose when she was on. I want to get you in on it, too, because we made predictions. Now, obviously, your predictions on the card are going to be a little skewed, so we can probably just breeze through the ones that involve yourself as well as members of your team. So starting off the card, We have Brian Johnson, Eli Isom, LSG, and Danhausen. Who you got in that one?
Well, man, Eli Isom just returned to Ring of Honor TV this past week. Looked absolutely amazing. Had that big victory over Ray Orrs. Danhausen, he's on quite the roll of himself. Him and Brian Johnson are been bickering back and forth, so I can kind of picture them two getting caught up in that. And LSG and Eli Isom, man, LSG, he's a good guy. He had that match with Jay Lethal where he went to a time limit with Jay Lethal, and I was watching like, hey man, the judges may hand this one to LSG, but I gotta go with the momentum of Eli Isom. He beat Ray Orris this past week, so he's got to ride that and go right in. Eli Isom.
That's a fair pick. I'd said Danhausen, but that's just because I'm a little biased. I'd been in the ring with him, slapped him around a bit. He is a very, very good and very evil wrestler. So, and so that was my pick. Moving on, we have Dalton Castle, who I've also been in the ring with, and Josh Woods. I was thinking Josh Woods on this one, but maybe you have a bit more insight than I do.
Josh Woods, man, what a stud! What a guy! I actually met Josh Woods at an NXT tryout, and he actually got signed off that tryout. He had never even wrestled at all before, just college wrestling, and he's a stud, man. And Dalton Castle, he's no slouch, but Dalton Castle has had some back problems over the years, and if you're not absolutely 100% getting in the ring with a guy like Josh Woods, man, I wouldn't want to do it, because Josh is a very multifaceted fighter, wrestler, the whole 9 yards. So
you're going Woods on this one. We're in agreement.
Gotta go with Woods.
Okay. And then we got Mark Briscoe and Flip Gordon. Now, my logic on this one is I was saying Flip kind of needs this one. And, Amy was saying, well, Mark Briscoe's one of the toughest guys in the locker room. It's hard to bet against him. So we were kind of split. You'd be the tiebreaker on that one.
19th anniversary. We might not be here if it wasn't for Mark Briscoe. So, Mark has definitely put his time in, and he's, held this company up on his back with his brother Jay, by himself, whatever. I'm going to give it to Mark. Flip, no discredit against him, but Mark, he's been here before. Mark is on the rise. This is Mark Briscoe's time.
Okay, fair enough. So now moving on, there's the unsanctioned match between two guys I've been in the ring with on multiple occasions, Matt Taven and Vincent. I love Taven to death. Big fan of Matt Taven. But I think Vincent is going to be the one to get this one done. I think there's just something in him that's awakened, and he's on another level right now. What are your thoughts on that match?
Man, I'm very pained to see, Matt and Vincent separate like they have. They were the best of friends, and now they can't even be in the same room together. And man, as much as I think highly of Matt Taven as a professional wrestler, Vincent has this sadistic side to him that is in a non-sanctioned match.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah,
he may go to some lengths that Matt Taven isn't really willing to go to. So I'm gonna have to go with Vincent on this one.
Wow, so we're Vincent right across the board on that one.
I mean, if it was a straight up match, pure rules, Matt Taven, but this unsanctioned match, you got the righteous, following Vincent, and they kind of outnumber the OGK. So gotta go with Vincent.
Cool. Then we got the ROH World Six-Man Championships, Mexa Squad and Shane Taylor Promotions. I was on board with Shane Taylor Promotions for this one.
Yeah. Mexa Blood, they flow like water in the ring together, man. They're good. But Shane Taylor, Moses Khan, Shane Taylor Promotions, they're on a roll. They are on a roll, and they are looking quite unstoppable right now. So gotta give it up one time for Shane Taylor Promotions.
And then, like I said, we're going to be skipping any matches that involve, members of the foundation to help preserve the integrity of this and the conflicts of interest.
The gold sweep. Remember that.
So the last one we got is the grudge match between Jay Briscoe and EC3, who we unfortunately didn't get a lot of time to talk about. He's a new guy coming in. He's new to Ring of Honor, obviously not new to the wrestling world. I can't picture EC3 coming in and, not winning this match. I think that he is going to make a statement. And, Jay Briscoe, very talented, tough as they come. But I think that EC3 has something to prove.
Yeah.
To himself and to a lot of people.
Yeah. This is a hard one because Jay Briscoe, since day one, the very first official Ring of Honor match, Jay Briscoe is right there in the thick of things. And 19 years later, here he is. But what's standing in his way is EC3. And EC3 is the type of guy who tells his own story. He controls his own narrative, if you will. And he's a super intelligent person. And I think he's been able to get inside Jay Briscoe's head and play the mind games. And Jay, nothing against Jay Briscoe, but, he grew up on a chicken farm, working hard and, plucking chickens and doing that sort of thing. And I think there may be some vulnerability there. So I'm going to go with EC3 on this one. Jay, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. He's got the whole mind games thing down, though. So,
well, we'll see. What ends up happening in all those matches. We'll have the results for our listeners here on Jofo. Unfortunately, I wish we could have talked longer. And hell, if you want to, continue talking once we end this live stream, it'll be lots of fun catching up with you. This has been a pleasure. But we do have to unfortunately wrap it up and comply with our government, as much as I may not agree with their tactics. With that said, people can see you in action, challenging for the tag team championships and hopefully winning tomorrow at Ring of Honor's 19th anniversary. Starting at 8 p.m., the first hour is free for everybody, so check it out. And then at 9 on Honor Club and on FITE TV. I encourage you all to check it out. You will not be disappointed. And you can also check out our watch along, which will also be starting at 8, where you can hear me and the rest of the crew and some very special guests giving you all the insight to these matches. With that said, I want to turn it over to you. If there's anything you'd like to say to our listeners out there, you have the floor, my friend.
Hey, Jeremy, thank you so much for having me on the Jofo podcast. It's been an absolute honor, no pun intended, but please, fans, if you're watching this right now and you're on the fence about ordering the Ring of Honor pay-per-view, please know that not only if you order the Honor Club, you get all pay-per-views for free, but you also get an extensive back catalog of Ring of Honor matches, and it's only $9.99. So, this pay-per-view, I'm going to go on record, this is the pay-per-view of the year. Like this one right here, the 19th anniversary show. You got LFI colliding with the Foundation, and you got Pure Rules against chaos. It's all going down Friday night. Order the damn pay-per-view, order the Honor Club, watch it on FITE, do whatever you got to do, but you're not going to want to be tuning into the Jofo podcast and be talking about the results and you guys talking about what a great show it was and not seeing it for yourself. So order the damn paper.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And as always, you can see us Tuesdays at 7 p.m. on Jofo. You can follow me at Jeremy Prophet. We'll get yours because this is going to be played over and over and over, even though we're live now. We're going to put it into syndication. We will get your, or you can tell the people real quick, where they can follow you and whatnot.
Twitter, Instagram at Rhett Titus ANX, RHETTTITUS ANX, Facebook.com/Rhett Titus, YouTube.com/Rhett Titus, ProWrestlingTees.com/Rhett Titus ANX, and also you can get me on TikTok, Rhett Titus. I'm trying to get them all. ROH Pro Shop, Rhett Titus merch on there, please. And thank you.
Awesome. Well, I don't know if you and I will ever step in the ring again one day. I do hope we do, whether it be in a in a regular ring or in a Ring of Honor. But I would love to have you back in an interview, hopefully when we have more time. Maybe we can go and dig deeper into some of the things we talked about. Either way, it's been a pleasure, and I wish you the best of luck in your match tomorrow. And to our viewers, remember, as we always like to say, wrestling is life.